the Steele dossier, now, here you have this document that obviously is being talked about, and obviously it's talk about, I mean, you put out there when you publish it, all the context in which you might say this is not valid, right? So you've kind of done due diligence in that respect. You didn't just put up there, look, this is the truth. You put up there, here's a document, we can't verify it. People are talking about it. This is all it. It's our job to publish it rather than not publish it, right? That's a cruise.
So I would say that at a very abstract level, that is it, right? And that's a very gawkery instinct. Here's the thing people are talking about, make up your own mind. I would just, in my defense here, because I'm still defensive about it, it wasn't just people are talking about it. And that had been true for a while. Like Harry Reid had written a letter referring to it. It was sort of the dark matter of Washington politics. Stuff was being pulled gravitationally toward it and away from it, and no one would say what it was. But then actually the trigger was that the CNN reported that it had been briefed to 2 presidents, and that this super secret document, which had been produced by a highly credible Western intelligence official and said Donald Trump had been compromised by the Russians, had been briefed to 2 presidents. Actually, at that point, I don't think it's that hard a call. At that point, I have on my I have in my hand a list of 100 suspected communists in the State Department. Like, you can't show the document into the light and then refuse to let people see it. To me, like, I think this was sort of I obviously have this gawkery instinct toward erring on the side of revelation and exposure, but I think in this case, that specific thing of CNN has said there's this top secret document that says Donald Trump's a Russian spy and is highly credible. At that point, a regular doctor, lawyer, construction worker has every right to say, hey, I'd like to see it.
I tend to agree with you. However, we were also living at that moment in a climate in which a large number of people decided that, in fact, that Trump was a Russian agent or asset or whatever, which it turns out, I mean, on the face of it, crazy idea and super paranoid. But the way in which the election had been framed, the way in which we now know the Clintons had understood it, and the Clintons had played a role in pushing this stuff out there as Oppo, it turned out that it was a terribly misleading document, that it backfired, that the actual investigation found much less that meets the eye. So, in fact, you did everything right, but you were still wrong. And
I did everything right, but I don't feel good about it.
Right.
I mean, I think that's right. Yeah. I mean, I guess my version of reporting, you have to be a bit blind to the consequences. I mean, it's sort of required almost that you're not trying to put your thumb on the scale. But at the same time, I thought, okay, I'm moving the conversation forward in some sense. And that was just not true. I agree with you. Like, it became a talisman for people for whom it confirmed their beliefs. It ignited this frenzy where figures like Louise Mensch, if you remember her. I mean, I remember, I think the moment that I was sort of like, okay, like, how do we try to deflate this whole conversation was when I just saw that I had a reporter count up how many people Louise Mensch accused of being Russian agents. And it was a tricky story. And I was, gaining a new appreciation for defamation laws. You couldn't list them because you didn't want to repeat the allegation. So we just numbered them. It was 280 or something. It was just sort of, what is happening?
The other example of that is the shitty media men list, where you just put up a list of actual names of people who were broadly accused of raping or sexually abusing people with no evidence whatsoever. Or the evidence you have is entirely hearsay, or no journalist has gone over any of it. There's been no due diligence. So you can also see that as another example of transparency gone horribly ugly and awry. Now, it might have had a good impact in helping warn these guys, these abusive, disgusting people, to stop. On the other hand, and so I can see that argument. On the other hand, there is something incredibly reckless about just putting over 70 names with no real evidence and putting on the document, we don't know if any of this is valid or not. That's my point. Does that excuse you? Now, I think it doesn't excuse them, and that's why I'm glad that someone actually finally sued. But
Yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, it is also, like you said before, that we were sort of, I don't think anybody would do that now, but I also think we were sort of all learning these lessons in real time. And the woman who put it up sort of, I think, thought or said she thought she was sharing it kind of with her friend. Like, there's this collapse of what's public, what's private, how wide things are meant to go. I don't mean it was a good idea, but, and I think it was,
It was an exploitation of that ambiguity.